stupid vibrations.
Hey guys, you're watching Freedom Machine, and today I'm gonna show you how to remove the vibrations from a Super Tenere bought between 2010 and 2013. The vibrations are caused by the springs getting loose and therefore allowing the primary gear to vibrate at around 3000 RPM. So in 2014 Yamaha replaced the clutch basket, and as you can see from this video they replaced the springs with some plastic mounts that are covered by this plate and are not visible. Since I had to open the clutch, I decided also to change the clutch plates and all the other parts that are required for this job. We will go very fast through the unboxing of the parts that I got from the US. So we have of course the clutch basket, and then we have the different clutch plates. There are 9 clutch plates, 7 of which are the same. And you will have to be careful not to mix them up, obviously. And then we have a few more plates, yeah. Then we have this nut that you need to get, because it gets damaged in the process of removing it and putting it back. And then this little ball, you don't have to replace it. I just bought it because the part number is different, but I couldn't notice any difference with the old part. And then of course we ordered a new gasket, because this is getting damaged in the process. So in theory, if you put the bike on the side stand, you don't need to remove the oil. I'm removing the oil just so that I can put my clutch plates into it. Some people say you should leave the plates in the oil for 24 hours. I leave them in there for 2 hours and I never had any problem. Most likely you will have crash bars, so you need to remove those to get access to your clutch cover. To remove your clutch cover you need to unscrew 16 bolts, so don't do them all at once. Go counterclockwise or clockwise and remove them a little bit at a time. Also remember that there are 2 bolts in the middle, and these need to be removed at the same time with all the others. Once the bolts are free, I use the drill to remove them a little bit faster, but this tool is not strictly required for this job. Now you can remove the clutch cover. Just try to be very careful, because there are 2 dowel pins at the top and the bottom, and these might drop into your engine. You can now loosen the clutch spring retainer bolts. Just be very careful like before. You remove them in a crisscross pattern and just a little bit at a time. In this case you will have to nearly remove them completely, so you cannot use a drill. Once you remove the spring plate, you have access to the clutch plates, and just notice how the first plate is misaligned with all the others. So maybe put a note on the clutch just to get it right when you put them back. So what I do now, I remove the clutch plates one at a time, I put them in a basket, and then I take them in reverse order. Since I'm just doing this operation just to show how a clutch can be replaced without having to take out the entire clutch basket. Of course, this would be much easier if I would take off first the clutch basket, and then I could just slide off the clutch plates after. There is a retainer holding few more clutch plates. You will have to spin the clutch basket until you find the two ends, and then you will have to try to pry it off with the screwdriver. Once you pry off one end, go around and loosen it a little bit at a time, and once you reach the other end you have to pry it off again with the screwdriver. Just be very careful because it's a very thin wire of metal. Once the wire is removed, you can remove also the other clutch plates. If you're only replacing the clutch plates, you can skip the next part and go directly to where I put in the new clutch plates. There is a short push rod that you will have to remove, and behind this rod there is the little ball that I showed you earlier. So what I do, I use a magnet with the push rod, I put it back in, and this should attach to the ball so we cannot lose it, and put them somewhere safe. This is a universal clutch holder that I got from Amazon, and I paid around 15 euro for it. This will hold your clutch in place, your clutch basket in place when you are unscrewing the nut that is in the middle. Also in this video I forgot to show how I straightened the rib that is in the nut before you can actually remove it, but you will understand better what I mean with that when later on I hammer it back in. To remove the nut we are going to turn it counterclockwise, so I use the footback to keep the clutch holder in place. So this is the nut, and if you look closely you will see that there is a rib that at this stage is straight, So to loosen the nut I use a brake bar. There is a little spacer that you have to remove, otherwise it will fall out when you remove the clutch basket. We can now remove the clutch bus, which is sitting inside the clutch basket. And if you look behind this, there should be a spacer. Also, this spacer could stay inside the clutch basket, just so make sure you don't miss this part. And as always, put all the parts in order, and then when you put them back into the bike, you can put them in reverse order. Now we remove the clutch basket. This is the clutch basket that we just removed, and as you can see, the springs are moving. Some of the springs are moving, and this allows the primary gear to actually move when it should be sitting steady with the clutch basket. And this is causing the vibration at 3000 RPM. So we are now halfway through the process, and what we are going to see now is going to be exactly the reverse. So we put in the new clutch basket, and we use a little bit of oil before sliding it in. And the only difference that we are going to have now from now on is going to be the bolts, for which we need a torque wrench. We are now going to use a new nut, and to be honest, I could have used the old one, but anyway, it's a small expense. So if by mistake you flip one of the parts, it should be easy enough to identify which part should be facing away from the bike, as all of them have labels. Center nut requires 125 Newton meter. To achieve that, you need a quite strong torque wrench. You can buy one of those torque wrenches from Amazon for around €100. Earlier I mentioned how I forgot to straighten that rib on the video, so now what we are going to do is exactly the opposite. We hammer it back in, and this will hold the center nut in place so that it cannot spin. So we are going to put the new ball back in, followed by the push rod. Just make sure that all the parts, when you assemble them, they are clean. So now we will start to take the clutch plates from the oil, and therefore I will be using a glove. From now on, the process will again exactly be the reverse. So we take all the parts that we have removed, and one at a time we slide them back into the clutch basket. And we just need to make sure that all the parts are in the correct orientation. So in this case, this is a little spring plate, and we need to make sure that the label outside is facing actually away from the bike. So we start with the first clutch plate. Obviously we need to alternate the clutch plates with the metal plates that we are taking from the old assembly, unless we are changing also the metal plates. Also again, make sure that the orientation is correct. After we slide in the first metal plate, we also have to put back the metal wire, which is the retainer of the first set of plates. So we can rotate the clutch boss until we find the two holes, and then slide in one of the sides of the metal wire. Once we have one of the ends of the wire in place, then we can push the wire back in step by step, clockwise or counterclockwise, depending on the hole that we selected. This needs to be done step by step, otherwise we won't be able to reach the other side where we have to slide in the other end of the wire. Once the retainer is in place, we can continue with the plates. So we put the clutch plate, and then we take one of the metal plates from the old assembly, and so on until we finish all the clutch plates that we have placed inside the oil. Once we reach the last clutch plate, this needs to be shifted compared to all the other clutch plates that are in the basket. After that, we can put back the spring plate. We screw the bolts back in crisscross pattern one little bit at a time. The spring plate bolts require 8 Nm, so we can use a smaller torque wrench. At this stage we need to remove the gasket from the clutch cover so that we can put back the new one. Also in this process we should try to clean the residues that the gasket is leaving behind as much as possible. You can use a plastic scraper to remove the residues. Just make sure not to use a metal one because this will damage the cover. We use the dowel pins to keep the clutch gasket in place before we slide back the clutch cover. So we put back the cover bolts one at a time, making sure that we are not putting any force onto them. The cover bolts require 12 Nm, so we can use the same torque wrench as the one we used for the spring plate. Once the cover is back on, the old oil goes back inside, unless we want to replace the oil at this stage. And of course, don't forget to put back the crash bars. So this is it, your bike should now drive like a 2014 model. I hope this was useful to some of you. This was my first video, but I hope to do many more in future. So if you liked it, please put thumbs up and subscribe. Thanks.